Welcome to the Royal Road School of Carmelite Prayer. At present, we are studying an article entitled St. Teresa's Concept of Prayer, written by a prominent Teresian scholar, Tomas Alvarez, a Spanish Carmelite friar, now deceased. And he's talking to us about the degrees and the variations of Teresa's mystical contemplation. And he says that these varying degrees and this variety of contemplation is only a matter of the intensity of the presence of Christ to Teresa. He speaks of the presence, he says. So as time went on, Teresa discovered this presence more and more, and it is possible to define that process in its three peak moments by pointing to three key discoveries. So let's look at these discoveries. The first one is that in the life and in the interior castle, two of Teresa's masterpieces, Teresa tells the reader how one day she came to discover that God himself was everywhere. There was one thing I was ignorant about at first. I didn't know that God was in all things. So even though he seemed to me to be very much present, I thought it was impossible. I couldn't stop believing he was there because it seemed almost obvious to me that I had perceived his very presence. Those who had no learning told me that he was only present by grace. But a very learned man of the order of St. Dominic freed me from this doubt, for he told me that God was present and how God communicated himself to us. So that was Teresa's first discovery, that God was present everywhere, within and without. So her second discovery was that the presence of Christ was beside her or within her. Another day, a further presence was revealed to her, that of Christ, God and man. Again, she mentions how unprepared she was and how totally ignorant that anything of the kind could happen between her and him. At the end of 2 years, I had the following experience. When I was praying on the feast of the glorious Saint Peter, I saw, or to put it better, I felt Christ beside me. I saw nothing with my bodily eyes or with my soul, but it seemed to me that Christ was at my side. And I know it was he who was speaking to me, since I was completely unaware that there could be such a vision as this. It greatly frightened me in the beginning. It seemed to me that Jesus Christ was always present at my side. But since it was not an imaginative vision, I did not know what he looked like. Yet I felt very clearly that he was always at my right side and that he witnessed everything I did. Whenever I was a little recollected or not very distracted, I was unable to ignore his presence at my side. Being interested in only having direct personal contact with him, Teresa pictured him beside her, or within herself, or else found in the sacrament of the Eucharist. But now, all of a sudden, she discovered the reality. Christ present in her very spirit, not as a picture, but as the living Christ. So then again, in summary, her second discovery was the presence of Christ beside or within her. And then the third discovery was the experience of the presence of the Trinity within the soul. God decided to remove the scales from my eyes and showed her the most holy Trinity in all three persons, in the central dwelling place of her soul. Here, all three persons communicate themselves to the soul, speak to the soul. Her initial reaction was one of surprise, but surprise gave way to growing admiration. Each day, this soul becomes more amazed, for these persons never seem to leave it anymore. It clearly beholds that they are within it, deep inside, in a part so deep that it, the soul, can't explain it. The soul experiences this divine company. So that was the third experience that Teresa, or discovery that she had, the presence of the Trinity within the soul. And so in summary then, mystical prayer not only enriches and deepens prayer, it simplifies it. It achieves all at once what has been the object of a long and arduous search. Finally, reaching the person and entering into communication with him, the whole of her prayer was essentially a seeking effort, a pursuit of the person, a matter of reaching God. Teresa paid much less attention to the subject matter of her prayer. Such things she regarded as determined by the lifestyle of the person praying. In her own case, the way she lived had a decisive influence on the way she prayed. Christ appeared to be the solution to all her problems. The gospel provided opportunities to find and reach him. But the historical Christ was of interest only to bring the living Christ as deeply as possible into her own life within her, not just with her. This is part of the mystery of Christian life. Living at the level of mystical experience, one enters into real possession of the Christian life, and through the higher stages of prayer, makes full use of it. Amen. So we have just looked at Teresa's three discoveries: that God is everywhere, that Christ was beside and within her, and that the Trinity was deep within the soul. So this is the conclusion of this talk given us on St. Teresa's Concept of Prayer by Tomas Alvarez. Next, we will turn our attention to another article written by Father Alvarez entitled, "What is Prayer?" And he's talking to us, of course, about what is Teresian prayer. Thank you so much. I hope you've enjoyed this article. Thank you.